I have met very few who can say that the birth of their child went as expected. Incredible, beautiful, difficult, yes, but as expected, no. You see, whether or not you have a detailed birth plan laid out, complete with playlists and checklists and wants and needs clearly stated, you still have an idea of what you expect it to be like in your head. For me, it was a peaceful hospital birth, simple and easy, with my husband and my mom by my side. Having the two of them with me at the hospital was about the only thing that went according to plan. So when I consider the nativity scene, it's pretty clear to me that traveling for a week on a donkey while 9 months pregnant, then giving birth where the animals are kept, was not part of Mary's ideal birth plan. I'm quite confident that Mary would have chosen to have her baby at home with a midwife and family nearby. But they were living under occupation of the empire. And when the empire said, "You go to be counted," you go to be counted. There was no mail-in option. And this census, it wasn't for the good of the people. The point of this counting wasn't to ensure that the needs of citizens were adequately considered. This counting was to make sure that everyone was paying their dues. This counting was to make sure that subjects paid their ruler. The vulnerable remained reliant on the unjust systems at play, and those in power kept gaining more power. So when Mary and Joseph entered Bethlehem, they would have done so alongside a bunch of other people who really didn't want to be there but didn't really have any other choice. The climate would have been anything other than celebratory, an undercurrent of tension, people wondering if the next tax hike was what was going to put them over the edge. Really, Mary and Joseph were lucky to have even found shelter that they did. Sure, a guest room would have been better, but the place where the animals were kept safe was better than no shelter at all. But this was not the plan. Now, after you've had a new baby, announcements are usually extended to let family and friends know of the new arrival. We had a really cute photo of our son that was taken shortly after he was born. We printed it out and we sent it around to those who we love. We were also welcomed home to a house filled with the latest gadgets and doodads meant to help caring for baby easier. My husband's work colleagues, they gifted us this big cooler full of pre-made meals. All we had to do was hunker down and figure out this parenting thing. For Mary and Joseph, there were no doodads or pre-made meals, and there were certainly no cute announcement cards. Instead, angels announced the birth of Jesus to shepherds, which I know sounds pretty impressive, but these shepherds, well, to most, they were nobody. They'd spent the better part of their life out wandering with their sheep outside of the cities, far from the action. They weren't friends of Mary and Joseph. They were strangers, who didn't even grasp what was happening. Rather, they were terrified because all of a sudden there's this bunch of celestial beings telling them that a baby born alongside a bunch of animals is the Messiah, the one who will save the world. Any way you slice it, this is not your typical birth plan or birth announcement. There is no way that this is how Mary and Joseph would have chosen for things to go. Maybe that's why we've domesticated the nativity scene as we have, because it simply doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we've turned it into something serene and picturesque, an effort to make the arrival of the Messiah more palatable, more holy, or at least what we've come to imagine as holy. I mean, look at our Christmas card images, our nativity sets. Even many of our Christmas hymns and carols, they depict calm and bright and merry and peaceful. And yes, I'm sure in those moments after Jesus is born, the glow of a new baby was something remarkable, especially this baby, the one who Mary and Joseph and some shepherds have been told is the long-awaited Messiah, the one foretold by prophets and announced by angels, the one who would usher in a new way, the one who would save. Yet the circumstance around this birth remain the same. And maybe that's the point. Jesus' birth, which ushers in a new kingdom between God and all creation, takes place amid a power-hungry political climate in someone's back shed with animals and slop and hay. Amid the things needed for everyday life, a new king is born, not in a palace or a temple or a church, not to powerful parents and announced to the who's who of the day, but born to would-be refugees who are forced to leave their home to be accounted for, and announced to migrant workers on the outskirts of town. It's into all of this joy is born for us, for all of us, not because things are good or we've figured it all out, not because we've achieved or performed or said and done the right things. I mean, just look around. We know none of that is true. Wars are raging. People are hungry and hurting. And in so many spheres, those in power are more concerned with maintaining control than with the needs of the people that they're meant to serve. And if we're being honest with ourselves, we don't really know what to do with it all. Because while the world doesn't seem to make sense anymore, on the home front, we're just trying to keep it all together to be the best boss, employee, parent, partner, friend that we can. And we feel like we can barely manage that. But joy? Joy is born for us anyway. Kate Bowler writes this: joy doesn't wait for the cleanup crew. It doesn't wait for the diagnosis to be resolved, or the relationship to mend, or the grief to loosen its grip. Joy shows up in the middle of things, the middle of exile, the middle of the mess, the middle of an unfinished world. And isn't that just like God? To send joy, not as a reward for resilience, but as a grace, a glimmer, a gift. Friends, this gift of joy shows up in the vulnerable places of our lives and says, "Here I am. I am with you in it all. And with me, there is light even in the darkness, a way forward, a way of love." This is the birth announcement of Jesus. This is the song the angels sing. This is the truth that Mary and Joseph hold in their hearts. The joy of God with us in Jesus, the one who is making all things new. Let us make room in our hearts for the joy of Jesus, and let him be born in us anew this day and every day. Merry Christmas.